Hey guys, Fox here. We're about halfway through the first week of Legion launch, so it's time for HTG to put out its video letting you guys know what our expectations are of you and a little bit of advice to achieve those expectations moving forward. So I'm going to make this video as brief and concise as possible with no video editing and no script, so please bear with me. What I'm essentially going to do is point you to some links and just tell you some brief requirements and let you go from there and figure it out yourselves. Okay, so the item level that we're going to require from you guys going into the first week of Legion, or going into the first raid, I apologize, is going to be 840. You must be item level 840 to get an invite to the first raid with HTG. This beautiful link right here is Medivh's 7.0 Legion Raiders Lexicon. So this has all kinds of helpful information to help you achieve that item level, things that you should be doing every day, so on and so on. So make sure that you guys check all this information out and absorb it. The next thing that I'm going to jump to is the Reddit meta link. There is a Legion Resources meta link on competitive WoW. If you guys don't currently subscribe to this subreddit, I would highly recommend it. It has all kinds of wonderful guides, a leveling guide, artifact power spreadsheet, pre-patch class guides. It has links to your class Discord, all kinds of valuable information, weak auras. Anything that you're going to need raiding is basically going to be able to be pulled from this lexicon and this meta link in combination with Icy Veins. I won't link Icy Veins, that should be pretty standard. A lot of classes will go a lot more in depth than Icy Veins will actually get, and I recommend referring to your Discord for that sort of information. The next bit of information I'm going to cover are the boss fights. For the boss fights, we actually started handwriting you guys some guides. This is really in depth, and it's a little bit unnecessary, I suppose, because right when we were about to finish it, we found this, and this is the actual link I want you guys using to look at the boss guides. So you're going to click on this link, which I will provide below the video. You will go to guides, and you can click each individual boss. We'll click Xavius for an example. It's going to highlight everything about the boss fight. It even has a TLDR section. Do not just read the TLDR section. You are expected to know these fight mechanics. You're expected to know what these moves do going into this. If you show up to the first week of raid and you do not know what and how the bosses work, then you will be removed. There's no excuse for this. We also want you to check out all the Fat Boss videos. They have alpha videos out, which are a little dated. They also have some later beta videos which should be almost the exact same mechanics with a little bit different tuning. So just keep an eye on that, and Fat Boss will likely put out videos the very first week of raid. So you guys should subscribe to Fat Boss's channel, and if they put out a video prior to raid and we'll just throw a number out there, if it's before 2 hours prior to raid, you should watch that video and you should know it. So we won't necessarily be downing every boss with a Fat Boss strategy. It's just a good generic starting point to build off of. So you need to understand how these things work. I won't require you to read this guide as long as you check out the Camel's guides. Those are great. This guide is just a different reference point if maybe something's not clicking for you on the Camel guides or the Fat Boss videos. The next thing that we're going to jump into is our attendance requirements. Just so you understand what's going on, we will have an attendance sheet that will have every single raider. We will have an officer who takes your attendance every single night during raid. This attendance will affect multiple things such as raid eligibility, loot eligibility. Our loot council will all have copies of this living document. They will be able to quickly, at a glance, see how you're doing on raid performance, and that will play into how often you get loot and what loot that you get. If you can't show up to raid, then you're not going to help us progress, therefore giving you loot will not help us progress. Check into these. I just do want to touch on this really quickly. We understand that real life is more important than this video game. If you have a legitimate excuse, a business trip, or your family needs you, or an emergency pops up, all we ask is that you give us as much notice as possible so that we can handle the situation appropriately. We will not hold something important against you if you work with us and let us know. Also, we will not hold emergencies, but you need to be open and honest with us, and we do reserve the right to record that how we see fit at our own discretion. So please just be honest and work with us, and we'll be as fair as possible to everyone. Okay, so attendance, moving on. As you heard me briefly touch on, I don't have a document for this, but we will be running Loot Council. We will use an add-on called RC Loot Council. I need everyone to download that prior. I can put a link in here for that as well, but you'll probably want to do that through your Curse client. That would be the most appropriate way for people to handle that. The Loot Council for the first week will be all officers. However, I do not want to leave it officers. The only reason it will be that way for the first week is we don't know a lot of you well enough to trust you with the progression of the guild. So within the first couple weeks, when we set our Mythic roster in stone, we will be taking some of those players from the Mythic roster who have shown an affinity for Mythic rating and for the progression of the guild, and promoting them to Loot Council. What we envision ultimately is 5 Loot Council members out of the 20-man raid, 2 officers, and 3 common raiders. That way the common raiders will have the majority. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, so next, moving forward, we do have officer roles in the guilds that are available. In order to get to these officer roles, you must prove yourself both as a competent raider and as someone who's willing to help the guild out. That via bringing additional raid supplies for your guildmates, helping them gear up. Just know that these things do not go unnoticed, and we are hoping to promote individuals to officer ranks. The last thing that I'm going to touch on with that notice is you should be helping each other gear up. With that, I want you to understand that we do not expect, and I will not personally, and I know my officers won't as well, flat out carry you. If you want help from guild members, you must help yourself first. They're not there to level you, they're not there to run you through normal dungeons. They are there to do content with you and to help you avoid queues and have good solid party members. So do your part, and they are more than happy to help you. Alright guys, hope to see you all going into the first week of raiding. Oh wait, I apologize. I did not touch on one more thing that's very, very important. So this is currently the roster that we have. The reason that I said this is very important, I'm going to just point it out really quickly. We have 14 melee DPS and 11 range DPS that are trying out. Now these numbers may be a little skewed. I know some of you have changed and we can't keep up with what each individual is playing without talking to them on a daily basis. That's fine. You're all going to be competing anyway, and we have enough of a spread to where our composition is good. So the issue is we're only going to have 5 to 7 melee DPS spots for our Mythic raid team. Primarily we will be taking range DPS to Mythic rating. Mythic rating is about optimization, and we are going to be an optimal guild. That does not mean that we will take a range player who is weaker in mechanics and weaker in DPS over a strong melee player. We may ask the strong melee player, we understand you've already put work into this character, but we're going to ask that maybe you re-roll for the next bit of content, or you start working from it now. I personally have not even logged into Legion yet, and I will certainly have the item level required to go into raiding. I will certainly be 100% ready, so taking this information into account, you can re-roll now if you want to be a range class for a little bit less competition, or you can stay melee. There's absolutely no problem. I just want people to be aware that there will only be 5 to 7 melee spots available, preferably on the lower end of that. Alright guys, with that in mind, I'm ready to move into Legion with you guys and down some Mythic content. Hopefully we're going to make a huge impact on our server. I will talk to you all soon, and you have a great night.